Hello, hello, hello. Hey. Yo, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Gonna go ahead and get started. Hey, guys, how's it going? My name is Justin,
Mark.
and you're watching and or listening to episode 403 DangIT Prodcast. Got Mark here on call. Mark, how are you doing?
What was that?
Oh, I'll just say, Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing well. I just came back after having a little bit of lunch. Previously, I was just watching Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which actually just came out for theaters over here, and got some good things to say about it. I'll definitely jump into a little bit of like details later on in the podcast, but just to give you good summarize, to summarize, it's really good. It definitely delivers on the hype that is pretty much just the retelling of like not really a retelling per se, but just the adaptation of an arc previously to the current events happening in the season. But yeah, it is your prequel, not quite a prequel sequel, but it's a prequel, and it's great no matter like where you are like in the series. But a couple things I actually wanted to talk about. I actually finally like sat down, like written down like all the stuff that happened like this past week, and as a result, and just because there was a lot of events going on, we got quite a bit of things to talk about. First thing to really just start it off, my ass really needs to write down all this stuff like for a reason, because not just for like talking about it here, but just simply because there's other events that happen that I need to like actively participate in, and I just don't. Because I forget about it. I'm talking about the Pokemon International Challenge, which for those who don't know about that, it's a little competitive like challenge thing that you can actually sign up for, like if you have a copy of Pokemon Sword or Shield. Pretty much the draw for this one is the fact that like if you participate in like 3 battles, whether you win or lose, you will have access to redeem a shiny Galarian form of like the 3 like original like Kanto like birds, but of course they have Galarian forms now, but they're also shiny too, and that'd be Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno, and I already missed out on 2 now.
You've already missed it on 2 of the birds.
Yeah, both for the.
That was just announced.
It wasn't just announced. It's been going on, I think, since like active since like February, like, but that's like mid-February or something like that, where you had to sign up within a certain time frame, and then afterwards you have to battle it out like with other people online under that tournament with their rule set and everything like that over like the course of like maybe 2 days. And I definitely missed out for Articuno, which was the first like point, and I simply just forgot about it.
Articuno was the first.
What? Sorry, what was that?
Articuno was the first shiny they released.
Yeah, yes. And then the second one was going to be Zapdos. Well, actually, was Zapdos. Yeah. So, I totally forgot about that one. And literally, it was, what was it? Like, signups were, I believe, on like the 13th. Or even like, oh, the deadline was like the 10th or something like that. And so that very weekend was your weekend to actually just like play through like matches here and there, just to be able to redeem or just be eligible to redeem Zapdos. And it was the 15th on a Tuesday that just like it came back to me like, oh, that was a thing. Oh shit. So
What's weird?
What's going on?
What's weird is that like every Galarian form of the birds, except for Zapdos, has their original typing.
Except for wait, I'm sorry. What was that last one?
All the Galarian forms, except for Zapdos, have their original typings.
Oh, you're right. Well, so
in terms of their original element.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay.
Because think about it. Because Articuno got psychic, but still ice, and then you've got Moltres, got dark, but still fire.
It's still fire. And Zapdos is absolutely abstained.
Fighting flying.
I think it's partially due to the meta of it all. Zapdos is like showing up on a lot of people's teams just simply because the typing is too good, just originally. So I mean, just to change it up a little bit, Zapdos had to
But
give
it's
up
so
on
weird to
one.
me. It's so weird to me that there is no electric fighting type Pokemon.
Well, yeah, I guess that's weird, and obviously Zapdos guy has to keep the
That
name.
seems like that seems like such an a like it just seems like such an obvious typing that someone would make.
Honestly, like when you look at like that design too, you kind of think that like obviously it would definitely derive some like electricity to it somehow, but they choose
But it
not
doesn't
to.
like electricity.
But really?
They say that it's almost like you hear crackles of electricity.
Yeah, and honestly, like if you just gave it like electric fighting, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's kind of sick. Let's see how that plays out. But they chose not to, and that's the weird thing. But I mean, no matter what they decide to do, obviously they just did it, and we can't really turn back on it. But I think it's fine. I mean, Zapdos is still Zapdos at the end of the day. Zapdos is just the name. So I mean, I'm kind of okay with it. But now that you brought it up and surfaced it, I was like, no, I still kind of like still like support what they were doing. Especially when you look at the grand scheme of things, they're also looking at like people who want to like utilize like maybe another Zapdos, but they want to change it up so it's not like, oh, it's the same like electric flying business. It could have been electric fighting though, but they decided to do, what was it, fighting flying now, which is still kind of weird now because that Zapdos ain't flying anymore.
That's why I'm like, why did you bother making it flying type?
But hey, Garchomp has levitate, so we can't really, we can't even like.
Hey, if it can use levitate and it can levitate, that's okay. It's using psychic powers to levitate. But here's the thing.
Hold up. That's assuming that it has psychic abilities.
I mean, hey, there's Pokemon that can learn moves way beyond what they should be able to learn. But let's be honest, it can't fly anymore.
It cannot fly. Look at Dodrio.
True.
You can still like slap flying on it though, and it will take you places. I mean, anything could happen like over that loading screen. Who knows? But I don't know. That is a weird thing to think about, but they've done it, and you know what? I'm totally okay with it. I've already like once I got past the fact that like some like moves don't like they aesthetically feel like a different typing, but they actually are something else. I think whatchamacallit, I think Incineroar kind of like pops up in my head like with the Darkest Lariat.
Being not being fighting, but being just like a fighter.
What was Darkest Lariat? It's a dark type move, right? And I'm not even talking about like
It's
visual.
also based to be around. It's also it's because he's supposed to be a heel wrestler who is the villain wrestler usually.
There's also the theme of that. I wasn't really talking about like a visual aesthetic of the Pokemon in that case, but just because Darkest Lariat, if you remember, if you see like the animation for it, like he spins around and like has dark flames. It has the flame attribute to it, so you think like, oh, it's probably some like really obscure like fire type. It's just dark type. And I think there's a couple other moves that like, oh, especially now where like Rayquaza, for example, has Dragon Ascent. It's a flying type move, despite dragon being in the name of it. So I like once I got past that, I was like,
But
okay.
the dragon's flying.
Oh look, that dragon's flying. So it's a flying type, but it has dragon in the name. It's flying. It's
But
flying.
it's using a flying type. But flying is specifically a flying type thing.
Right, but it also has just like I get it, right? But like
It's like, well, yes, Dragon Ascent. Obviously, you'd think it'd be a dragon type move because dragon's in the name. But I think their logic is probably, well, he's flying, so flying
right.
would be a bird type of thing. So let's get to the flying type.
Right. So like what I'm saying is just that like we get like, and just going back to Zapdos for example, I think one of the moves is called Thunderous like Kick. It's a fighting type move. So I mean, so like at this point, like I've just gotten used to them really kind of going off the rails with the naming of these moves. And
if they make a Thunderous Punch and it's not fighting type, I'm calling bullshit.
What idea could you come up with like a move like on the spot that could be a seemingly this move but it's a different move entirely?
Like it's this move, but a different move entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in their logic, I could easily just say like he like Inferno punches, and it is fighting type instead of being a fire type move.
Mm. Actually, now I'm thinking about it too. Because though, like, sometimes it can be like very direct in what they're trying to do. They're trying to like sell you off on like the fact that like this is a reference to this Pokemon, so it's obviously gonna work like this, but it's actually a different like type entirely. And I have a hunch that we might even see that in the new gen as well, especially for the starters.
Icy glare. It's an ice type, not the dark type move.
Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah. What if it what if the move was combustion? So you're like, oh, it's obviously a fire type move, right? Like, nah, it's actually no, it's normal. It's normal. It's actually 400 base power.
A chemical reaction is very normal.
It's very normal. No, the devs were just thinking of like another like evolved type of like the self-destruct, the 2 explosion. But here's X combustion.
Is self-destruction a normal type move?
It is normal.
I feel like it's like things that are normal in our world are usually what they count as normal.
Yeah.
So like, but here's the thing: a lot of people, a surprising number of people, have wanted a new typing for a lot of Pokemon. Do you know what the typing is?
Wait. No, actually. No, actually, maybe I don't know.
Sound.
A sound type?
Simply because
baby, I'm sound type. You don't have to worry about it.
It kind of does fit a lot of Pokemon.
They do, yeah. Like lead it up with like Whismur, just be the first sound type Pokemon, and then Noivern is
and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Noivern.
I can see that. What? Hmm. What would sound be strong and like weak against? Maybe probably like all
sound would be strong. Because here's the thing, sound waves have been used as weapons before.
Mm-hmm. I think
like sonic attacks.
I think sound would probably be strong against water types, weak against like probably like rock and steel.
Yeah, because maybe not against steel.
Well, I guess it depends on what it is. Or
because here's the thing, it's very hard for sound to travel through rocks. However, if you hit a sheet of metal, it's gonna shake and you're gonna hear the boom.
Yeah.
But if you hit a thing of rock, you're not gonna hear much.
Typically doesn't. I guess because of just
unless you're in a big cavern, it's not really gonna do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. They should let Pokemon Company, please. Please. We're here. 24/7. Not 24/7, but we're here. You could always
Ascension.
What was that one that you were referring to? The dragon type for Eevee, Werv.
I've heard a few names passed around. Like Wyvern and Dragoon.
Dragon's like a favorite, but Wyvernion, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, we could make. Yeah, the Pokemon Company, please.
Honestly, I feel like a dragon type Eevee is way overdue.
I think so too. They decided to just kind of like skip over and jumped into 6th generation with a Sylveon. So
my friend is way too dedicated to the meme for a ghost type Eevee.
Oh really?
As cool as that would be, he's very dedicated to the meme of, okay, so we get an Eevee and we get a brick.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
You have to. The Eevee needs to like hate you. That's what you have to do, and the best way to make it hate you is by literally having it die each time. Or I'm sorry, faint.
That's the way they'd say. Like once you build high friendship, and it and say if it faints, boom, ghost type.
Boom, ghost type. Having said that, though, I actually just like before we even started, I saw like someone like post of like, what would you prefer, like OG Gen 5 Zora or like the variation Zora? And I'm like, I kind of don't want I don't want Zora to like suffer, so I'm gonna go with the original typing. As cute as it is now, it's just like, damn, dude, that origin story just really hits differently.
Right, and like here's the thing, like I've seen a lot of really good fan made evolutions for Eevee. It's just the fact of is Pokemon ever going to do them? Who knows? But the Fakemon community is very they are very good at what they do. So I mean, I'm sure there's always going to be fan games that have certain types of EVs done. I mean, like I remember I had one in the fan game that was the most successful that Nintendo actually shut down.
Oh,
And I believe you know what it was. It was going to win an award until Nintendo shut it down.
I think you might have mentioned it in chat before. Uh, ooh, what was it called again?
It was the Pokemon Uranium,
Ah, yes.
which had its own evolution.
Oh, really? What was that
It was
one?
actually pretty well done. Let me look up the name. Nucleon.
Nucleon. Oh boy. Listen, I think Eevee or like Evian or hell EV2 are perfect candidates. Actually, now I'm gonna throw my vote in for EV2. I think that instead of EV or Evian, I'm just gonna go with like EV2.
Evian.
Evian, I mean, might as well. Or no,
Like
there was someone else who had like a better name for it. Ascendion.
that was me.
Yeah, okay, that's you. Got you. Oh yeah. I'm gonna just take advantage of that, like that moment we were talking about Drakeon. Speaking of dragons,
Oh, but
well,
quick before we move on to that, because I do want to talk about that. Before we do,
okay,
look at the Discord.
look at the Discord. This is
Nucleon.
Nucleon. Oh, I see. That's actually really interesting.
I was like, that's a cool design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like that one. I like how it just kind of, well, obviously especially the first gen like had like crazy variants. This one specifically because of the art style, how like a lot of limbs at this point are like kind of detached. It kind of works.
Yeah, it's got the ears and the tail that kind of hover along with the biohazard symbol in the front.
Yeah. Okay.
It's got
All
the
right.
third eye.
Yeah. It grew a third eye. Huh?
Radiation.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. But yeah, that is pretty nice. But wanted to jump over actually to a little thing that happened actually on that 15th, I believe. It was actually Monster Hunter Sunbreak. They had a digital event going on. They pretty much detail all the little like beginning things that you just need to know about, like before we jump into that, like, and they announced it too, like in June, late June, that we'll be getting the updates. But
Oh
yeah.
yeah, like it looks really good. I watched it with a friend of mine and it looks really nice.
Mm-hmm. They are pretty much telling you the whole situation about you being relocated to like a new whole area, a new hub. I think they also introduced like other like locales, but obviously the big one was, did it call it the cathedral? I feel like that's what they called it.
I think it was the Citadel.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. And that's pretty much kind of like the main focus that we've been seeing like throughout. Not only are we gonna have like our poster child dragon, but we're also gonna have like two others that will act all together as like the big three or the lords.
Yeah,
So
they showed off Lunagarin like I think about a month or two ago. They showed off Lunagarin,
oh really? Okay. And
which
that
is the Ice
was,
Wolf.
yeah, the ice wolf. And then Monkey.
Okay.
I think I put down his name somewhere.
I call him I just call him Bracky Kong.
Pretty much.
It's like Brachydios mixed with Donkey Kong.
Essentially, like you look at it, and you're like, that looks very, very familiar.
Yeah, because Brachydios punches with the slime gauntlets, and this one does something similar.
Right. I'm pretty sure they've like at this point, like it's been a well-established franchise, so they could definitely just like give like different descents or just like extended families. It works.
Mm-hmm. And we know this is the old, like, they're just showing these off to be the three big ones of the game. Clearly, there's going to be more monsters. They're just not showing them all just yet.
Yeah, we still have like well, about like a little less than 3 months, so within that time frame they could definitely show off something else. But we are already alluding to something going on with like some of the NPCs. Yeah, obviously the big one like that they kind of like just brush over, but it's obviously a big thing. Is the handler being of probably loyal, yeah, royal descent.
It's like, oh, she's royalty.
But she's like, oh no, please stop, don't, not in front of the new player.
It's like they kind of like, they hinted her being royalty. We're like, oh, okay.
And they were like, so anyway, here's some amiibos. I was like, god damn it, dude, god damn it. you see what I have over here? Stop it.
You get some clean outfits from those amiibos though.
Yeah. Someone pointed out that pretty much the monsters and just pretty much the attire is really kind of a Halloween themed type of thing.
It's reminiscent of American monsters.
Yeah. Because like vampires, like werewolves, and a third party.
Yeah, like vampires, werewolves, and
monkeys. No,
that would still count. That would still count if you take one thing into consideration.
Well, what was that?
Who is the original American kaiju?
Just King Kong?
Fitting.
Okay. All right.
Technically still fits.
It's weird to think about like King Kong as kaiju, but you're right.
He technically is a kaiju.
Technically is. Just by definition. And just like retroactively back to like the whole movie. He's kaiju. So
yeah, because kaiju just means giant monster.
Just classification is a giant monster. Fair enough.
Big monkey.
Like big monkey. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably just do Sunbreak on the Switch version. And yeah, because at that point it's like the PC is like really alluring, especially like with the 60 frames like there, but like as fun as it was to just simply progress, I've invested so much in that character too. Like the build for it specifically for the charge blade.
I think the only way they could get people to do that is if they announce like right before Sunbreak that there will be an account transfer.
Oh my god, dude! I would shift over in a heartbeat. But to do the multiplayer stuff, I'd probably have to go back to the Switch version.
Yeah.
But yeah, still gotta like give it to them. Like obviously, what was it? Monster Hunter Rise is like a Switch game specifically, so when they port it over to PC, it's still a Switch game like by its DNA. So you might see like higher like better textures, but like as far as like the overall scheme of it, it's still very much so a Switch game, and therefore it's all the more like you could just access from there because of how optimized it was for a Switch game. So still good. Multiplayer is really, really good. And aside from the whole online experience of like trying to set up like chatting like natively, which is I'm pretty sure no one uses it safely, that'd be the only gripe I would have about it. But yeah, so I will definitely look forward to when that releases. We'll probably jump into that. But
absolutely, I can't wait to jump into Sunbreak.
Mm-hmm. Kind of going over here, I actually didn't mean to like make these segue like as much as they would, but I did talk about like the whole PC thing going on, which I was like, I was tempted because they also had like a sale for it like on Steam as well. I think it's like about $35, so anyone who's like starting anew and has a PC, I'd recommend it for sure. This is where I dropped a little bit of news.
3080.
I don't think I ever really brought it up during podcast or anything. It's a little bit more recent too for it, but I wanted to wait until like I had it installed. But due to circumstances I'll talk about later on, I just might as well just bring it up now. I got a I was able to place a copy or an order and actually get one of the graphics cards, the 3080 Ti. It's sitting right here. It's in this box, and
Those are really hard to come by.
it's true. They are really hard to come by. I hit the mic. I'm sorry. But it's right here. It's still in the box. I'm pretty much waiting for my cousin to just kind of use his resourcefulness to like install it instead of me, the absolute like beginner, to install it. So
I mean, technically, with the graphics card, all you really do is just just plug it into the spot. But if you
yeah,
want it done properly, you probably want him to do it.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because it's pretty much exactly as streamlined as you kind of made it. The only exception is that you just have to probably like uninstall any drivers from the previous one, and then just like when you plug this one in, then you proceed to download all the new drivers for that specific model. Otherwise, I guess the PC will try to like run the old drivers as if nothing happened, and so they'll just try to make that work, and that can cause like some performance issues later on.
You know what's wild to me about that
Hmm.
is that I've heard of people plugging in another graphics card and they can still use both of them. And I was like, how?
Yeah, you can double up on that. It probably takes up a lot of like wattage though, so yeah.
Yeah, as long as you got a good power source.
Yeah. Now that you think, now that you mentioned it, nah, no. My plan is just to like swap out like the 2070 that's sitting into the current gaming PC and move it over to what's currently streaming this stream. Because that's the 1070, so it gets like an upgrade of its own, but the game PC like gets the 3080. So what I plan to do with that is that once it's plugged in, I'm gonna run and finally do some like recording to Let's Plays per request of somebody, of Guardians of the Galaxy. So we'll be able to run it from that. It's on Game Pass too, so I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I was also
That's how I've been playing it.
yeah, and though I don't really need to do this, because the game probably doesn't require that much performance on that end. Probably play Tunic on that too, which actually came out this past week, and I've been hearing some really good things about it. And I'm happy about that because I played one of the betas before, and I was like really impressed by just kind of the approach and the presentation of everything. The game literally like gives you like a foreign language to try to work off from, and you can get by, but you can definitely feel like you don't really quite get a grasp of it, so you're much more engaged to try to figure out like how to get around that. And a lot of it's like, oh, I'm in a new area, I beat this enemy, I guess that's progression, okay. So they give you like the absolute minimal here to work with like in that beta, and apparently in the full game you're pretty much guided by like some collectibles here that are in the shape of like a manual of sorts. It really just looks like a manual for the game, but it's all digital. So I'm a fan of that. Obviously there's a bunch of like Zelda like meets like a Souls like game like mixed together, and I'm totally for it. That was definitely what I think a lot of people like took away from like the a reveal of the game, was the fact that it really just looked like a Link to the Past like clone, with some like elements of Dark Souls, if that was ever like referenced in the first like reveal. But definitely looking forward to like trying that one out. I've been stuck in Elden Ring, so I don't know if I can really get to that at some point.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you actually recently beat Elden Ring, didn't you?
Correct.
I gotta ask because like obviously I got to the I got to the rune farming aspect of it. What level were you at when you finished the game?
130 something?
Okay, I still got a ways to go. We're good. I was gonna say like, am I too over leveled at this point? But yeah, no.
I mean, a friend of mine beat it at like level 90 or 100.
Yeah, I guess like it depends on how you allocate your resources. Like mine's starting to like really spread out a bit. I'm trying to pick up like on the mind and vigor aspects here, but I put a little bit into like dexterity here, but I'm looking further in to see like what I need to possibly do with the high intelligence that I have here, and they're asking a little bit for more, and I was like, really? Oh, that's why.
Use your brain.
Okay. They want me to
Don't make
like
intelligence.
they want like real neuron activation. I got you. Return the monkey. Oh.
Return to monkey.
But yeah, I've been like I'm with the rune farming. I am like past 100, but not like 120. It's definitely like further below that, but I'm still finding out that like enemies are still pretty strong regardless. So I'm glad that that's still kind of like a factor where it's like, oh, you're not just like you're very strong, but you're also very squishy still. So watch
You're
out.
strong, but if your armor sucks, your armor sucks.
This is true. Like if the stats say what the stats say, and you have like two options.
I use heavy armor.
Like you have two options: you either bulk yourself up, or you hit harder. So it takes a lot more time. I think I'm getting to a point where like I'm starting to balance out like that. So I'm not really.
How's that vigor looking?
That vigor is looking like a 27 now, which is
like 45.
Well, yeah, because at that point, like it's past like it's almost like if not is past halfway throughout the screen. But
it's like it's not that far.
Yeah,
I got like 1,700 health.
Okay. But yeah, I'll definitely have to keep working at it because I was thinking I'd probably do more min-maxing, and now I'm just kind of like evening out the curve a little bit more, just kind of spreading all this kind of stuff. But now I'm kind of looking back at it like maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I really should have like min-maxed like for certain like other stats instead of trying to like balance out everybody. Arcane's definitely like at the lowest though. It's like a 10.
Arcane's like a luck kind of thing.
It is kind of like a luck thing, but it's also sometimes a requirement for some certain things. Like
to be honest, there's a lot of weapons that require arcane that are actually pretty sick.
Yeah, so I was like, ooh. So I recently picked up like this seal, and granted I don't really use like incantations, so I just kept it at 10, but there's this Dragon Communion.
Doesn't use incantations.
And that's a shame because incantations are actually like really, really sick. It's like in comparison to like what I've seen of just sorceries, incantations like have a lot of different variants to them. So I was like, damn.
Whether they be like stat boosts, whether they be heals, whether they be just damage.
Yeah. I want to use mine specifically for just like a support healing type of thing. So I don't really need to after like utilizing the requirements for 9 flame. That 24 like faith actually like allows you to use like a bit of a variety here and there for incantations. So one of mine is just simply like the rejuvenation one for now, and then sometimes I'll just do flames cleanse me for just like obstacle like dealing with poison and the rot, and it does just fine with that. But mostly like a lot of it just goes into intelligent sorcery stuff. But yeah, I'm still kind of like working through the levels and the stats stuff, but I'm currently just trying to get like that ultimate like sorcery one, the comet.
The comet is you.
But I have to like find a way to actually even get there, which is kind of weird.
I mean, the Knight of Flame can do it.
It can, but I'm also like getting obviously I've like I started to like hit like my intelligence pretty high in comparison to faith, so I actually hit a lot harder with Moonveil now than I do 9 flame because of just the scaling on that. But I could alternatively just kind of like swap them back and forth like within the same hand. I just need to like boost that endurance up so I don't lose like my mobility with my rolls, because that's very important. But yeah, I guess yeah, I'm still like going through with Elder Ring, and I'm totally okay with that. Like playing on and off is it's totally fine. I was actually playing it like this morning just to see like what else can I do, because I'm at a point where I'm finding a lot of like these staffs that are super weak in comparison to this meteorite staff that I found. And that's just because like the meteorite is just like a really good like early to mid game one, but near the end, you'll find like better staffs once you upgrade them, which requires sombering smithing stones, which aren't really. I mean, you could definitely find more, but like to find a consistent amount, you need to get those like bell bearings, and some of those are not accessible to me until like further out. So I gotta work with that, and only then will like some of these staffs that I have like go above and beyond the meteorite one. But in good time, I'll eventually get there. But nothing I want to talk about real quick. Let me just double check here, right here, real quick. I just realized like all my stuff is like blocked off. Okay, we're good. I want to talk about Turning Red for a little bit. The movie that recently came out from Pixar. Mark, you'd already watched it. I finished it, I think, yesterday or the day before. And first and foremost, it's pretty great. Like I really enjoyed like my time watching this one. You're like, I know, Mark, you were wondering about like my thoughts about the movie and how like connected I was. I would say, yeah, I would say I'm pretty well connected to it. Obviously, there's a bit of like, oh, of course, right? But yeah, no, it's interesting how they decided to like take a look at the relationship dynamic, because when you start the movie, I'm not gonna really like get into like real spoilers here and there, but at first it seems pretty normal. In fact, it's a little bit more like on an optimistic side of things. And then what's interesting is that Pixar decides to like kind of dissect it a little bit more, like as you dive deeper in. Like the first 15 minutes of the movie hits you like a truck. You don't even remember like it was 15 minutes. But once you like really dive into the family dynamics that Mei goes through in her family, it's different. You realize that like there's a like a slight bit of manipulation like on a light scale.
Feel healthy.
It's not really healthy like thing that she's going through. She kind of has like her Pacific mindset. I can't speak on any behalf on any other like families that like kind of go through this too, but what she kind of goes through is just the idea of like always trying to live up to the approval of like her mom, her
good Asian child,
right, to obviously do well academically and literally just do everything that she asks her to do. What you don't expect though is that her mother suffers from this as well, that it's actually like
that's why she imposes it on her.
Yeah, it's like, and at the end of the movie you realize that like what happened to her like got internalized with the mother, and that's why she treats like Mamie the way that she does, that she's the perfect child like in her eyes, but the moment she acts out she's like, wait, like gets a flashlight, what's going on?
This can't possibly be my daughter's fault. That doesn't make any sense.
Right, so I love how they decide to take a look at that, because honestly like I never even like considered that like in my circumstance, because of just like my life is different like from my parents, and they treat me like a certain way because of like their own experiences. It's not because not technically because of just like how it is. It's just that like we are just simply born in whatever circumstance we're in, and we just kind of take in consideration the things around us and just take that into account when we're just learning things like starting out. And when you're trying to pass that stuff down, you can only pass that stuff down. That's all you can do. And some people also can be very stubborn to change until like they're met with a force, in which case that's literally the entirety of this movie. But aside from that, there was
no context comment. That's a big ass panda.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the panda is like it's pretty big, and you know what? I gotta give credits for that, because it's funny because like before you like dive into like the lore of the panda, it really does feel kind of like a metaphor. I was like, damn. I mean, they even like made reference to it, like obviously with the idea of like, you know, what a lot of people are actually like arguing about for this movie is the fact that like they're showing us like a specific topic without really like giving you the full details of it. Yeah, I know that some people are like, "Oh, this shouldn't be included like in a kids movie." I'm like, "No, it's totally fine. Like this is a normal thing that even I wasn't fully aware of." So, do talk about it. But it was great.
Town.
You know, Four Town. Like they have they have the boy band group here, kind of like providing some like background music here and there, and I gotta say like it's actually it really kind of like worked well together at the end. It was great.
I like the dad.
Oh my god, dude. The dad's an MVP. Like there's no real context or spoilers here, but it's really like, Mom, are you sure you want to come with me? Why don't you stay at home and hang with Dad? He's like, oh. And she's like, she takes a minute. I'll go get the note cards. He's like, oh.
I felt so bad for him.
I was straight up like, this is disrespectful of this guy. This is disrespectful. You better go back and apologize.
He was like, oh, okay. And she's like, I'll get the note cards, Paul.
But
he's such a chill guy.
He's such a chill guy, and he really he's actually a really good like supporting character in this one.
He wants his daughter to be happy.
Yeah.
Like, what's more important to him is that she's happy rather than being perfect.
Yeah. And I think that's a fantastic thing. And the fact that like he's also like, ooh, actually not. Nah, that's a little bit too much, a bit of a spoiler. It's just the fact that how he's like, obviously this is kind of like a family like centered like moral story type of thing, and he's very much so involved there too. In like every like aspect of it. So shout out to him. Let's see other things I wanted to talk about. You know what? Since we're talking about media stuff, talking about a little bit of Jujutsu Kaisen 0. I just watched it today, and I was super impressed by it. Like, they didn't miss. Like, I don't know what to say else.
Nappa out here not missing.
Yeah, like, I actually want to say, and I'm not sure if this is like a hot take or anything like that, but I think Jujutsu Kaisen 0, as far as like the presentation and the pacing, is actually better than, you know, first season Jujutsu Kaisen. Because I love Yuji as like a protagonist over Yuta, but Yuta's like upbringing here and just how they presented, how they introduced characters, I felt it was like nicer, and that could just because it's a movie versus like an episodic thing. But I actually like this a lot more than the first season. But it's because of the first season that I actually like this a lot more than I would, and that's because like some recurring like characters come in and you already know what's up with them. You already know that like Gojo is literally the barrier between like higher admins trying to persecute like every single new coming like sorcerer coming in here. He's like, he's over here like, I'm gonna protect my students, okay? You guys don't touch that. Really, don't touch that. I'll get involved. And they also shine light on like one of the villains in season 1 that actually didn't really have a lot of like screen time, and therefore I questioned why he even was there in the first place. So I get it now. I am fully like aware of like that backstory, and I love that you don't have to per se watch this to like understand like where all these characters are going to be at, but they do it so well that I might as well say like, yeah, definitely just do it. What was it? Oh yeah, there's something else I wanted to mention. Turning Red's like music was great, just like Jujutsu Kaisen's is as well. There's a I mean, it's not really a fully 2-hour movie, but it's like an hour 45. They put in a lot in there, like on the character development side, and I actually really like it for it. They pretty much go through characters such as Maki. Oh my god, what was his name? I'm gonna pull it up. Give me a second. But they pretty much, except for Panda, they really like, because Panda's pretty much like his own character, and we already know at this point like
Everyone knows Panda.
Everybody knows Panda. He's literally the guy in the intro that you're like, what the fuck is that a panda on the rooftops?
There's a panda on the roof.
It's so goddamn funny. I think it helped give it like a little bit of like eyeballs, like, or driven its attention over to it because of that. But
I see a panda.
oh my god, why is there a panda like on the rooftops? It's jumping over. What? But I love what they did with that because like one, it did happen like in like the original like source material, but it was also just like a nice way to really like develop these characters over the course of just like a movie. So by the end of it, you already know what's going on with them. Yuta like definitely changes throughout the course of this movie, not just emotionally, but also just like his ability to kick ass essentially is great.
Absolutely. Once he actually unleashes himself, it's just like, okay, he's very powerful.
Mm-hmm. I will say his backstory is like exceedingly tragic, and the resolution of it, or the revelation of it, is also just as tragic. I did feel like, and maybe this is my own perception of it, I felt like the way they ended it made me like kind of confused as to like how will this like affect like the main like story here. I won't go into details, or what I ended up finding out like later on, because essentially I just like came home and I was like, okay, so where's Yuta now? And it just kind of like told me like a brief thing. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Alrighty.
Spoilers.
All right, I look forward to it like when I actually get to see that. I will say there's a mid-credit scene, and definitely hints to it like what's to happen like later on. I'm pretty sure it's not too far out from where the season like or the anime like initially ended, but it's there. I think they were really good at intentionally like putting this in here because the mid credits makes you obviously like question what's going to happen later on because you're like, wait, why is that person right with this person? Okay, all right, I guess we'll find out. But source material, it has the answer. But yeah, it was a really good one for sure. So definitely recommend that for anyone who hasn't seen it quite yet. Whether it's your first time or really watching it because you watched the other ones. Obviously, if you like watch and enjoy like the original runtime of the anime, then you're in for a treat for this one. There's a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah. Like I read the prequel manga, which is Jujutsu Kaisen 0. I've read the manga. It's good.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. Was there anything else I wanted to bring up about it? I guess not much. It's just yeah, it's really good. I still find it like myself like it's a really interesting like concept about like a shonen about curses, and I would not be. I'm kind of initially I was kind of awestruck as to like how you would adapt that into like a shonen anime about like throwing hands when it's all about cursing. But they found a way. And somehow we're gonna physically curse each other. That's what's gonna happen. I'm still also like flabbergasted by like the entire cast being as very like unique as they are and loving every single one of them. Yeah, it's crazy. Except for Maki's sister. She's okay.
Yeah.
She's okay. I did want to like segue off that from anime to actually mangas for a little bit. But so first and foremost, I think I talked about it last time that we would do early coverage of My Hero. Nah, psych. We'll just do it on Sunday as usual. So don't worry about it. You'll see it later on. So I haven't read that yet, but it was funny because YouTube, like, I think there's always one recommended like YouTube video from like a content creator that's gonna show like Dragon Ball Super. Obviously it's pretty well popular, so obviously it's gonna show up, but it did remind me like, oh yeah, a new chapter came out, okay, let's see what's all about. It's really good. For that one I may not hold back on spoilers on that one, but it's great. We talked about it previously. It does like deal with like Goku's past, and I just love like how they kind of like they're not just leaving that from a chapter like a couple chapters ago. They're like, no, it's still very much so like relevant to like what's going on right now. Um,
My heart.
honestly, like I honestly did not imagine it would, like, obviously there's a historic like significance of Bardock in like the story arc. I wasn't expecting it to like then lean towards possibly Goku evolving himself, and I think that's what they're hinting at for the next chapter. So I was like, yes. But first we go into the past. We see what's going to go on.
It was
Also,
so touching.
also not just like that, but also just like Goku literally, despite being at a disadvantage against Gas, still able to just kind of outmaneuver him and make him dumbfounded.
He's like, wait, what?
That seems to be a common thing too, because like when they were up against Granola, Vegeta was saying that like obviously like you just became the strongest, but right now like we are still getting stronger than you. And it also kind of stems out of the fact that like they have much more fighting experience than Granola, like dealing with like higher, stronger foes. So they just kind of make it work. And this is kind of no exception with Goku versus Gas, as they literally just warp between places, and then Goku literally instant warps way back, and Gas is like, huh? And Whis is over here like, oh, he's already back. You might want to go get him. You might want to go after him.
Which way you splitted cereal? That way?
That way. And he's fuming. He's so pissed. So I love that, like, despite being the strongest, like, there's a technical side of things that, like, neither Granola or Gas, like, even considered. But the quick thing about, like, how Goku's training is, like, between him and Whis was actually a really nice touch, too. Because it's just like, I'm trying to get there. Obviously, there's a huge pressure on Goku right now to, like, master, but it's like, how do I do this? Whis is like, I've said what I said. You gotta figure this out yourself. Like, Ultra Instinct is, well, instinct. It's pure instinct. You gotta figure it out. But I do like the fact that, like, they also mentioned, like, well, I'm an angel, so like it makes sense, but you're different than that. So like you gotta find your own like method of like mastering it.
I like that a lot too. Where he said I'm a completely different being from you, but you have to ask yourself this question: who are you?
Oh, that's true. They did talk about that, which I think, boom, here comes the origin story. I'm like, that makes sense. Okay. So the problem is that Goku has an identity for himself, but to really tap in,
really is,
yeah, who he really is, and
Kakarot.
Right, he is Kakarot. He is like a Saiyan that survived an eradication of all of them without having any other prior knowledge or like experience as one. So he needs to. So I guess like the manga is like really trying to tell us like Goku needs to like tap into like those instincts of a Saiyan to tap into like the form of Ultra Instinct is what it seems like.
Like his true Ultra Instinct.
Yeah, his own origin. To like you really go back to just like that life to live like for like I mean obviously he's a Saiyan, but he's aside from like tapping into Super Saiyan and the Zenkai boost stuff,
he's never connected with his heritage.
Never connected that way. So that's gonna be interesting to see that. And you know what? Just kind of like connect with that, like Vegeta's like form, Ultra Ego, kind of does like tap into that too.
It fits him to a T.
So I think aside from just simply refining it, like Vegeta's already like found himself like his power, so he's good.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's good. Just needs to like probably work with it just a little bit more. I will say though, he gets really reckless, which is also like a yes, but also like, oh no, why? Honestly, I think they do need to like have them like branch out further out. So I think the path they're taking now is really good. One last thing I kind of wanted to bring up that's like in my like listings here. It's actually Pokemon related again. This past week, they announced a couple new like Pokemon showing up. Back in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it's Arceus and Darkrai actually. I believe Darkrai is actually like a mystery item event or mystery event type of thing. So all you really have to do is just have like a later update of like the game, and then you'll be able to do mystery event stuff, and you're good. Arceus is different. It's not a mystery event. It's just an update. The idea is that you have to beat the Elite Four in the main game, and you also have to beat like the whole Arceus story in Pokemon Legends Arceus. And by doing so, having like met both conditions, you'll find an Azure Flute in your room, to which you can go back to Mount Coronet and then play the Azure Flute just like the event. Go up this like stairway to heaven bit, and then you fight Arceus, who is currently not shiny locked. So
So you can soft reset for shinies.
uh it might happen. I'm not even gonna think about it for now.
People be soft resetting for shinies on the Arceus. You already know.
Oh, people have done it. People have, and it's weird because like I'm seeing more like frequency in like people posting on shinies like on that. Like the first thing I mentioned or first thing I saw was a posting of like someone doing like a soft reset of 10, just 10, and they got it. And it's like, well,
That's called good luck.
that's like really good luck, and it was the right person who was willing to post about it. So that's what it came to. But yeah, so that's first of all, I think it's really cool that you can actually access like Arceus through normal means now, whereas previously like it was just event stuff, and back then it was during like the DS time, so I don't even know like how you dealt with that at the time. But it's now easily accessible now. Granted, though, people are arguing though that this Arceus and Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is technically like a $60 DLC with a little bit of footwork involved in that aspect. Personally, but like the thing is like you and I are not gonna be bothered by this because we're still willing to play through Arceus anyway. But I do understand this from the perspective of like, what if it's somebody who doesn't want to even play Legends Arceus and rather just have like Arceus like in their Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl files. So I get it, but I don't know.
Did you transfer Arceus from your other games?
Maybe, but for now we don't really know for sure. Well, yeah. Right now, like BDSP doesn't have like that like means of just like transferring the Pokemon over and back and forth for now. So right now, at the time of this like podcast, this is kind of the only means of actually getting the Pokemon over. I remember seeing something. It was probably like an exaggerated leak of like you being able to transfer like Legends Arceus Pokemon over to Gen 4, and they're usually like categorized like with the Arceus symbol on them, the origin like symbol like on their status and everything like that. And I think that's really cool. I figured that's how you do Arceus, but no, it's actually Arceus is an entirely separate thing. But again, people are like, oh, well, I can't really do that unless I like buy. Well, actually, you don't have to really buy it. You just have to borrow one and get safe data from there. That yeah, all you have to do is just do that. But essentially, you'd end up having to like buy a whole new game, which Legends Arceus is worth it. Let me just like give that. Let me just preface that to you. But yeah, I get it. I get it. It's just weird because now, like, I'm at a point like these past couple months, I'm seeing a lot of like weird takes on video games, and that's just like one of those things that pops up that I'm like, huh, that is an interesting perspective. Okay. I don't know. But I think though that Legends Arceus isn't the only thing that like Pokemon games have like done where you require like the save data. Or I guess in this case, like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. It's literally all the other like Pokemon games that we've seen recently on the Switch. I'm pretty sure some other ones in the past, but I just don't remember. Like, so for example, if you have Let's Go Eevee or Let's Go Pikachu save data, and you go into Sword and Shield, there's like 2 kids that ask whether or not you have Pikachu or Eevee, and if you do, as far as save data, they'll just give you like a full 6 IV, like perfect Pikachu or Eevee, depending on the version you have, or both. You know, if you have both. So that's one of those things, uh and that's interesting because like cosmetic stuff, fine. New Pokemon, okay, we're starting to get somewhere. Obviously, you don't really need to. You can find other like means to get these Pokemon at like a good, better IV thing. But I get it. I get it. It's interesting. Obviously, they want to reward you for like playing their games, but some other people are like, well, money stuff probably, but I don't know. Every single person's reason is different, and this is just one of those takes I see that like people are kind of like getting behind. I'm like, okay, yeah, that is interesting, and I think we might see that like continuing forward with other Pokemon games as well. So we will see how that like plays out.
Indeed.
But let's see. I think that's pretty much everything I want to like really bring up. Mark, was there anything else that was going on? I know you're well, actually, you know what? Question. I talked to you about like Elden Ring. Are you still playing through Elden Ring right now, or are you playing another game?
Played a little bit more of Elden Ring, but I also just started Guardians today.
Oh, nice. You were saying like it's pretty good so far.
All right, it's really good.
How far are you into the game now?
Chapter 2, Chapter 3. What are they?
Okay. Yeah, I think Guardians was one of those where I was like, I'm a touch skeptic because of just like Marvel's Avengers, and I'm sure a lot of people were the same way too. So for me, I was definitely
And it
just kind of
turns
like,
out it was fucking fire.
it turns out it was really good, and I'm happy about that. Eventually when I get to actually playing that, but hopefully that's a good lesson to be had there. Also, you know what? Another game that like a game that came out recently was also Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins. That's a mouthful, but yes. I have not played the game yet, but I do definitely want to because I think I like Jack as just like a protagonist, a no need for details, just want to get straight to the point type of main character. There's a funny clip that's been going around this past week about like the assumed like chaos being like having like this whole monologue, and he was about to introduce himself, and Jack immediately like cuts in. He's like, I don't give a fuck who you are. As the camera's shaking, seeing him like run up on this dude and like do a Superman punch at him. I was like, bro, what? Oh
Just
my god.
boom.
I'm told, well, obviously I hear like the job system in that game is actually really good, but I'm all for it for like very really corny stories here and there.
He loves a good corny story.
I don't give a fuck who you are. And also plays music just out of like on blast.
Well, all right.
Bullshit. Walks
Oh,
around, plays music. Blink 182's place. He's out there.
Blink 182.
I can feel him. I just gotta keep looking. I'll find him. Also, a little bit like in the beginning of the story was like their question as to why they're going after Chaos, despite like how overwhelmingly pessimistic everyone appears to be about the whole thing. And Jack just replies like, killing Chaos is just like a thing. It's like it's a thirst. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Dude, Jack is like a different type of protagonist. But yeah, I should definitely jump into on that game as well. But I currently am like playing like on the side. I'm also playing through like Octopath Traveler, and it's interesting. The only thing I could really say that I haven't said in the previous like podcast episodes is that it definitely helps to have more people in your party, just because the way that like turns play out, there obviously is always going to be like two or three like, well, 1 to 3 like monsters on the enemy side. So having my third like party member coming in, it's really good. So I'm happy that I now have like a party of 3. I do feel like enemy encounters are a little bit too obvious sometimes, especially when you walk into a very vast room, they try to cover every single corner. There's honestly no way you can like avoid like a fight all the time. But yeah, I would say that like it's good so far. Music's fantastic. All I could say is though is that sometimes like the run-ins on enemies can be a little repetitive here and there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about that. So hopefully I'll get some more progress on that soon. Then I'll try out Triangle Strategy. There's also Atelier Sophie because Sophie 2 came out, and I was like, okay, I should probably try this one out and just see if I like it all the same as like Atelier Ryza, and then we'll see. But man, dude, there's a lot. I was actually really considering like, okay, it was literally like yesterday. I had the day off. I was like, okay, what game to play this time? Let's see. I could play Octopath. Oh no, it's Elden Ring. It's gotta be Elden Ring. And
Elden Ring.
It has to be. But yeah. All right. I guess that's pretty much it. I know later today we're gonna have a D&D session. Hopefully, I will make it clear. I'll post on every single front: Facebook, Discord. I am 100% open on like at 5 p.m. Please, let's do this. Christoph. But yeah, well, I'll definitely follow up on that. So we'll be prepping that very soon. Let's see, things happening later today though. It doesn't really like impact the podcast, but just saying it out openly. I'll try to do another like I'll try to do some kind of stream later tonight after like D&D as well. Mainly because like yesterday we were playing through Mario Kart. Oh yeah, that's something I totally did not even talk about, and that's literally the title of the stream. I remember that. Yeah,
check out Motion Man on Twitch.
Check out Motion Man 64 on Twitch. That's the homie Phil. You may have seen him like in a couple of these podcast episodes, but he's also been over on Twitch, like originally, like on our channel, DangIT_Gaming on Twitch, and he's good. Like for a guy who's like he's obviously like our local like game collector enthusiast, all the above, and encyclopedia. And he has like a huge library in which he loves to like just dive in and just talk about all these different like aspects of old games. But
he will make this podcast 2 hours at minimum.
Yeah, definitely reserved your 2 hours when you have him on. And we joined him along with Sephi to do some Mario Kart. So we weren't streaming yesterday, so that was what was going on. And honestly, those tracks are really good. I was actually listening to some of the soundtracks earlier. Obviously Coconut like Mall like really hits.
You just got coconut mauled.
There was a funny bit where like we literally like it was 5 of us or even 4 of us who all voted for Coconut Mall, and it was like the 5th or 6th option that was something else. And I remember getting like one clip of that. It was brilliant.
Please tell me someone said you just got coconut mauled.
No, but I know that Sephi like really was like going in for that one. We eventually got it, but that was like the 3rd time.
You just got coconut mauled. Yeah. Share this with all your friends so you can totally coconut maul them.
Yeah. I never actually touched any of the new courses until just yesterday when we were doing it. Those tracks are really good. I will agree though with Phil. Toad Circuit, despite me loving Mario Kart 7 a lot, is the weakest link out of all of them. It's definitely like an introductory course, just like Mario Circuit or literally every introductory circuit.
Was Mario Kart 7 the one for the Wii?
It's the one on the 3DS actually. Mario Kart Wii is actually like essentially the previous version of that, because I don't think they had another one afterwards. Because you had actually, so the Wii was definitely essentially Mario Kart like 6 or something like that, and then Mario Kart 7 was the 3DS version only, and then the Wii U had Mario Kart 8, and so we just kind of kept like, now we're just stemming out from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so
we'll see. Since the Wii U, dude, think of how long this game has existed.
Honestly, I think we were talking about it too. Like it was like either 2014, 2013. Like it originated all the way back then. But it just kind of goes to show, like, Mario Kart 8 was never broken. It was just getting older. So
Why can't the same happen for Smash? I don't know.
I think, oh well, that's a little bit weirder because we're talking about new fighters, like in general. Like I'm pretty sure, like if you just kept the main roster as they are now, and all you did was just like add more stages from like a like current like IP like representatives. So you just added like yet another like let's say you added another Paper Mario stage. I think that's doable, but you can't really say the same about like other like new fighters, for example, because that involves a lot of discussions and licensing involved. And
Yeah.
but I think you're on to something though, because if they just kept expanding on Ultimate, I think that's totally fine. Even if like the netcode's like not all that, you could still like enjoy Ultimate for what it is, for as long as the Switch is alive, or even any other console that comes out like later on. Well, actually, I'm not too sure about that. Actually, if there was like if there wasn't like another like Switch like console, I don't even know what the port thing is gonna be like. But you know, we'll see. But yeah. Was there anything else then? No. Honestly, like, I think the reason I wanted to like talk a little bit, well, obviously because it just happened recently, but the reason I just brought up Mario Kart was actually in tandem with the Arceus thing going on, because Arceus is technically like in BDSP. It's not really a DLC at all. People can actually view it as such though. But Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, quote unquote, like, well, not quote unquote, but it's Booster Course
Like
Pass
one,
DLC
maybe.
is actually like an actual DLC, but it comes in free, like if you have the expansion
Yeah.
pack.
Good God.
So, I feel like all these different things that get included with the expansion pass is actually makes it much more viable. Whereas like I look over at Arceus and I'm like, oh, no, that makes sense. I get it. So, I if you know, if you just happen to have the Switch and of course you have Mario Kart attached to it, getting the expansion pass is probably even more worth it now. In addition to not just having that, you also have Animal Crossing, but you also have like the 64 and the Sega Genesis. So it's just like, if they just keep doing this type of model where everything gets included with the expansion pass, I'm all for it. It's totally fine. And I think it's just a good direction that Nintendo's doing, like on their part, as far as like providing something that is seemingly quote unquote like free,
Yeah.
if not great value. It's almost like they're getting closer to a Game Pass model, but they won't. Well, they actually technically they kind of do. Yeah, technically they kind of do with all the retro stuff. But yeah, all right. I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, again, Mario Kart's great. It's definitely breathed new life into the game for sure. For a game that came out like along, well, Deluxe coming alongside the Switch like on that very release year. Granted, a few months afterwards, but still. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we're good to pretty much call it. We're gonna just prep and get ourselves ready for the D&D session. But all right, we'll go ahead and call it here. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of DangIT Prodcast. This episode has been episode 403. My name is Justin.
Mark.
And thanks for watching. #bye everybody.